We are now on the second part of section 4.7, writing in vertex form. First of all, the rules for writing in vertex form and identifying the vertex. One, you want to prepare to complete the square. Then you're going to complete the square and add that to both sides. Then you're going to write the right side as a binomial squared, and then you solve for y. And then the last step, you want to always make sure that you don't forget to identify the vertex, because a lot of times people forget that part of the directions. Okay, so always make sure that you do identify the vertex at the end. The first problem, we have y equals x squared minus 8x plus 11. Now, in order to prepare to complete the square, what I like to do is I have y and then I leave some space equals. Now I'm going to put parentheses, and you'll see why in a little bit. We're going to do x squared minus 8x. Now I'm going to leave a space here, and then I'm going to finish the parentheses and add 11. Now going back to completing the square, I need to find what c is, okay? And I need to do c according to what's going on in the parentheses here. Now if you see b is negative 8, and remember to find c, you take negative 8, divide that by 2, and then square it. So if I continue, this is going to be negative 4 squared, which is 16. Okay, so I'm going to add that here. And the reason for the parentheses, and you'll see this in the next problem, is this is really just a 1 out in front here. So really all I'm doing is adding 16. Okay, so I'm going to put plus 16 on this side also. Now to continue the problem, y plus 16, I'm going to drop that down. Okay, equals. Now this, what's in parentheses, I'm going to write as a binomial squared. Okay, so if you think about this as a binomial squared, it would be x and x. And then you would need this, and this is a perfect square, this would have to be 4. And it's going to be minus because the b in the middle is negative. Okay, and if you remember when we wrote this as a binomial squared, I talked about how you can take this number inside the parentheses before you squared it, and that's what's going to be in the parentheses here for the binomial squared. And then remember to drop down the plus 11. Okay, now the last step is to subtract the 16 on both sides because you want to get y by itself. So I have y equals x minus 4 squared, and this is going to end up adding up to minus 5. Think back to vertex form. This is what vertex form looks like. We looked at those when we were graphing quadratic equations. Now the last part, which I told you, remember, don't ever forget, identify the vertex. Okay, the vertex is right in the equation. You take the opposite of what's in the parentheses, positive 4 for the x, and then out here is the same value for y, so it's going to be negative 5. So my vertex is 4, negative 5. So that's writing in vertex form and then identifying the vertex. The next problem is a little bit different. We're going to start it the same by going ahead and writing y, leave a space, equals. Now I'm going to put this negative 2 in front of the parentheses, okay? Because remember when we complete the square, you always want this to be 1x squared. So now I'm going to think about it. You have to factor out the negative 2. So I have x squared. If I take negative 2 out of here, that's going to leave me with plus 1x. Okay, plus 1x. And then I'm going to leave a space to complete the square. Minus 7 is going to stay the way it is because notice the negative 2 is in front of the parentheses. Okay, so it's not going to have to, it's not taking anything out of this negative 7. So the negative 7 just pops out here. Now we need to complete the square by finding c. Okay, c equals, and again, think about what's in the parentheses for c. b right now is 1. Okay, so this is going to be 1 over 2 squared, okay? 1 over 2 squared, if I square 1, I get 1. If I square 2, I get 4. So I'm going to put plus 1/4 in the parentheses, okay? Now, here's where these problems get a little bit tricky. Over here is not going to be plus 1/4, okay? Because we have to remember there's a -2 in front here, okay? So this is really -2 times 1/4, which is -2/4, which would be -1/2. So what I'm really doing is subtracting 1/2 on the right side, okay? I'm adding 1/4 in the parentheses, but really it's subtracting a half when I distribute this -2. So on this side I had to put -1/2. Now I'm going to go ahead and write as a binomial squared. I'm going to bring down y minus 1/2. That equals -2 times x, and then remember it's half of b, so it'll be plus 1/2 squared, or again, think about what we had in the parentheses before we squared it. That's what goes here. Carry down the -7. Okay? Now, the very last step, all we need to do is add a half. So I'm going to add a half to both sides. So I end up with y equals -2 times x plus 1/2 squared. Now we've got -7 plus a half. -7 is the same thing as -14 halves. So this is going to be minus 13 halves outside. Okay? If you need to use your handy dandy calculator, type in -7 plus a half and then change it to a fraction, you'll get minus 13 halves. Okay? So that is written in vertex form. Now, what's the vertex? Don't ever forget, you got to find the vertex too. Okay? It's right in the equation. Opposite of what's in here for x, so it'd be -1/2. Same as what's out here for the y, minus 13 halves. So there's the vertex for that equation. Okay? And that's going to conclude section 4.7b. Please work on page 289, numbers 39, 41 to 49, and 63.